What up, what up? Thanks for tuning back into the Mamba podcast. I'm still Jackson, and I just wanted to start this episode off a little differently than I usually do. I just wanted to start off by talking about something that I noticed this week in week 2 in NFL that not a lot of people were talking about. Some people were, but not everyone did, and it was the lack of coverage that was on the silent protests by the NFL players. I'm sure you all. I'm not going to beat a dead horse and keep going over this. I'm sure you guys all know the story, but started by Cap in the preseason, and so I did notice that although there were some more players doing different things, like more players are taking a knee. Some players are holding fists up. And other players, they're doing other things, like the Seahawks in week 1 all joined arms to both show unity as a team in that they support each other and what they believe, and also just it was on 9/11, so they showed support for the troops and the first responders who sacrificed themselves on that day. But and that was week 1, and that's all you kind of heard about was what was going to happen week 1. But once week 2 rolled around, it's as if it's almost as if the media said, "We're done with this now. We can move on." But that's a huge problem to me, and not just me, but a lot of people, because them saying that we're done with this could not be more further from the truth, because it's still going, because what these silent protests represent and what they mean is still going on today. And it's not just police killing African Americans. It's not just police killing Hispanics or any other ethnicities or anything like that. It's just oppression of all types, all colors, all genders, all ethnicities, everything. And for them to say that we're done with this and we're sweeping it under the rug is trying to say that we're done with this and we're sweeping it under the rug for the overall problem at what these silent protests represent and what they're standing for. And initially there was a lot of backlash to what Kaepernick did, and that was because they felt that he was disrespecting this and disrespecting that, and that's how everyone has their own opinion. That's the way it's going to go. But once Kaepernick actually took the time to talk to people and get his message out, of like I said, what it represents, how it represents all people who are oppressed, all people who are discriminated against, all people who are victims of prejudice and or racism or judging or anything like that, unfairly, unjustly, and then they're saying once he explained that, and that it wasn't just African Americans or black people in America or anywhere else, then it became an issue of, okay, let's try to get him now with he's disrespecting the troops. But he even said, I respect them, and what I'm doing is, or what he's doing is exactly what the troops and exactly what our military fights for every day, and in history what they fought for. America was built on protest, and was built on, it was a combination of, the military, fighting for our freedoms and fighting for our constitutional rights, and combined with the people living here. If they didn't like something, they stood up for it, and they didn't take it, and they've wanted change, and it didn't happen right away, and they fought for it because that's what they felt was right. And Colin Kaepernick is doing that right now. And when he came out and said that I do respect the troops, and that's not what he's trying to say or what he's trying to do, more troops came out in support of Kaepernick, saying that is what we fight for, and he is exercising. He's fully exercising. He's fully doing what we're fighting for, and he's not disrespecting anyone in any way. He's not trying to. What he's trying to do is create change, and he's trying to create conversations, which is exactly what he did. And by the the media and by the NFL, or it's whether it was purposely done, as in like a memo came down and they the big media companies like Fox, CBS, NBC, or whoever, maybe even the local channels or whatever. If it was a big memo that came down saying don't talk about it anymore, or whether it was just kind of subconsciously or unconsciously done because they felt that they were done with it. This isn't a hot trending topic, or this isn't a hot thing anymore. That really upsets, like I said, not just me, but everyone who is a victim of what Kaepernick and these other players who are standing with him, and anyone who has the same views. And then it's really disrespectful to those victims of what they're fighting for, what they're standing for. And I was thinking about this, and I was listening to Jalen and Jacoby yesterday, and Jalen articulated the way I was feeling better than I could. So I'm gonna quote him on this, and he said, "The worst thing, or what's the most rude thing you can do to someone, or the worst thing you can do to someone, is ignore them." And that is exactly what the NFL, and that's exactly what the media companies, and then the TV companies, the media, not necessarily Twitter. Twitter is always going to be the internet. Everything lives in the internet forever. But the big companies, like the big news companies and all the television programs and all that, they're trying to essentially ignore it and not talk about it. And when they're by ignoring it, they are trying, I said, whether it's on purpose or not, whether it's on purpose or not, or directly or indirectly, they're indirectly sweeping it on the rug and trying to say, let's move on. But we can't move on from this. And some people, and then I myself, I am very disappointed and feel very upset about this. But at the same time, the more I thought about it, most of the time when you get in an argument with someone, this created an argument and a conversation. When you're having a conversation and an argument with someone, usually you're going to keep going back and forth with takes that you have until someone either wins, or you don't have, until there's nothing else to say. There's still plenty to be said for this on one side, but the other side no longer has anything to say because because Colin Kaepernick has so there's no other way to say it, has so beautifully explained his reasonings behind what he's done that there is nothing else that the opposition can say. And so now, I hate using trigger terms like this, but Kaepernick has done everything that he can to be in the right. He hasn't done anything, he hasn't said anything, he hasn't slandered anyone, he hasn't gotten any verbal altercations, he's never raised his voice, he's never physically hurt anyone or anything like that. And everyone on the other side opposing him was just slander, just evil, a whole bunch of just evil things written on the internet, written into the press and in print, everything. But one Kaepernick said, "Hey, this is why I'm doing it," and there was actual support for him. The other opposition couldn't say anything. So when the opposition can't say anything, they just start to ignore you and to try to pretend like it didn't happen. And that, to me, is a sign that Kaepernick is winning. And without saying it hopefully no one can take this out of context, but Kaepernick and what he's standing for is winning. And that by the big people, by the haters, the opposition, and by these other big media companies trying to ignore what he's saying, it's showing that he's saying something that's worth listening to, that they don't agree with, and that they have the power to control. But not we. I say we because I do feel strongly about this, and I do feel strongly in supporting what Kaepernick is standing for, not just for African Americans, not just for Hispanics, because me being half Hispanic, and not just for but it's for all communities who are oppressed, and all communities who are discriminated against and everything. And the fact that they're ignoring something that needs to be talked about is, again, I've said it before, but it's showing that it's getting through, and it means something, and that there is, a lot of substance and a lot of support for it. And, you know, in the wake of, again, I apologize for mispronouncing his name. In the wake of, I say, Terrence Crutcher's murder, or Terrence Cruther. Again, I apologize for messing up the pronunciation, but in the wake of his, murder, if you haven't heard by now, another unarmed African American man or person, any person of color, unarmed, called 911, needed help, and was murdered, was shot, point straight up. There's footage of it. There's dash cam footage and there's helicopter footage. His car he pulled over. Something happened. I guess he had a mechanical issue with his car, and called for help. Police showed up, pulled their guns on him, and he was, had his hands up, hands on the car, everything, and they opened fire, and he ended up dying. And I hope that in the wake of this, that it helps re-spark the conversation again, because by them trying to, in week 2, them trying to sweep it under the rug, saying, hey, it's over, it's done with, it's not. It's clearly not. And it's not just Terrence Crutcher, again, sorry about the pronunciation. It's not just Terrence Crutcher. It's the next person that's going to be, a victim of wrongful murder, pardon my non-legal terms. And that victim can be anyone, It can be anyone. It can be anyone's brother, sister, mother, father, daughter, son. It can be anyone's. And that's who Kaepernick is fighting for. Those who are treated unfairly, unjustly, for no reason. And like I said, this week, I hope more players use their platform that they have to re-spark the convo, to get people talking about it again, to let them know that this is not done, and this will not be done unless we do something about it. They're trying to ignore you, but make them hear you, make them see you. I'm not saying do anything crazy. That's not what I'm saying. But keep doing the silent protest, and keep the conversation going, keep the conversation alive, and hopefully change will come, because they need to acknowledge that change needs to come and change needs to happen. Because life is too precious to just be thrown away for essentially nothing, for nothing most of the time. And I know it's a lot easier to say, a lot easier said than done, especially sitting here in this chair. But, players, Kaepernick, other guys, whether they're guys who have been doing it or players who haven't but feel like they want to, but maybe have been afraid to. Hopefully this is, this might be the tipping point for them, to help them, to be strong and be brave, to say that, hey, something is not right, and I'm not going to stand for it anymore. Again, I'm not saying do anything crazy, like, do anything physical, or start, using, start slandering people, or doing this and that, but, whether it's sitting, or it's taking a knee, or you're holding a fist, or your fist is, or your right hand's over your heart, and you're standing. Something needs to be done, and more people need to know that this conversation isn't over, and that change needs to happen. And, that's just all I wanted to get off my chest before I start talking about football. There's a lot more things that are more important in this world than, you know, my fantasy football team or how, how I did with my picks. There's a lot more there's things that are a lot more important than that. And it's just something that I've been thinking about a lot, and, I don't know, just something I had to get off my chest. So I, I'm not expecting, I'm just hoping that, you know, I hope that things can get better this week in a lot of ways. Most importantly, I hope that, we can help create some change, because change is really needed. All right, so now I'm going to get into how I did this past week. I'll start on a good note, I guess. I've been 9 for 7 on my picks. Better than last week. Last week I went 8 for 8. This week I went 9 for 7. If you tuned in last week on the last pod, I didn't really pick the Jets or the Buffalo, but on the pod, but I did pick them, on my own beforehand. So if you're listening or watching and you say that, oh, that shouldn't count, whatever, this is my pod, I can do whatever I want, that's going to count for me. So I went 9 and 7, including the Jets going over Buffalo. Guys let me down. The Lions let me down. Bucks let me down big time. My Raiders really let me down. Man, they really let me down. I mean, no what's to say. They let me down. They a lot of mistakes, fought hard, but real heartbreaker with that Cooper's last touchdown where he went out of bounds and he was the first one to touch it. That was tough, man. That was a heartbreaker right there for sure. And Pack let me down too. Jags too. Jesus, a lot of teams that just a lot of letdown. Really, Bucks got blown out. Pack, lost to the Vikings without AP. Looked like Bradford had a broken hand too, but and the Jags just got blown out too. But overall, I picked pretty well. Like I said, 9 and 7. So overall, I'm 17 and 15. My goal is to stay above 500. So I'm pretty good. Pretty happy with that for right now. So this week's gonna be tricky. With a lot of injuries. Speaking of injuries, that is a segue into how my fantasy teams did, where the main theme for me and my teams this weekend was injuries. So let's start with let's get the bad news out first. So if you're new to this, I'm in 2 fantasy leagues this year. With one's my friend's league, which is called the Fantasy League, and then there's a league with my family, which I call the Gramps League because it's dedicated to my Gramps who passed away a few years ago. And so, starting off with the bad. Yeah, I got my ass kicked in my fantasy league this week. 105 to 59. I was the 59. I got whatever you're thinking I got. So I just don't want to say it. You can say it yourself. But only two players in double digits, Martellus Bennett and my defense, Carolina's defense. Other than that, next highest points was 9, and that was from Alshon Jeffrey, who I think got about half of those in that one catch he had in last night's game. 9 points was the next highest. The rest, bunch of 3s, and a 4 from Seabass. But all right, just gonna jump right into the bad news. Real bad news. I lost both my running backs. Danny Woodhead, as you may know, done for the season, torn ACL. And I also have Arian Foster, who, let me see, what was it? He injured again? Let me see. Injured his groin. Not sure if that's the same injury he had before that kept him out. I think it is. So he's not ruled completely out, but I also have I got Darren Sproles on my bench. I already placed a waiver claim for Alfred Morris, dropping Danny Woodhead. Morris played pretty well against in last week, over the weekend in the win, and hopefully I can pick him up, and the Cowboys don't keep giving Zeke Elliott extra carries when Alfred Morris is clearly the better player right now. Yeah, pretty tough. Antonio Brown. It was raining like a mug, and they played him pretty well. They made sure that they're gonna have someone else beat him, or the Bengals are gonna make sure someone else is gonna have to beat them other than Antonio Brown. So hopefully he can turn things around for me next week. That's tough. Yeah, and Jay Cutler stunk it up again. I mean, he's got a thumb injury, I guess, but I don't know, man. It's Jake smoking Jay. What can you say? Gonna have to go with Kirk Cousins much to my chagrin next week. Yeah, Jay Cutler, he's off the team. You're off the squad, brother. So that was week 2. Can't really get much worse than that, I don't think. Only way to go is up from there. And yeah, hopefully I can get some. I got go if I can get those. I can get Alfred Morris and do a little bit more work and check the waiver wire to find someone else. And moving on to better news, in my Grams League, I won. I won this week. I won 102-97. Derek Carr, that's my quarterback, baby. Thank you. 30 points. 299, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. I know I always talk about it, but you could throw for not many touchdowns, not many yards, but as long as you don't turn the ball over, it's good with me. Mike Evans, Jarvis Landry both played well. Again, I got Martellus Bennett also. Green Bay's defense didn't give up a lot of points, but still lost. I don't know if that doesn't really matter, but the pack, man, got to figure it out. I guess okay, and so more tough news. Speaking of the injury bug, yeah, my first pick, Adrian Peterson, torn meniscus. I'm not sure how long he's out. Pretty sure he's not going to play this week and maybe the next. So I got some work to do on the waiver wire on this team too, figuring out another running back. I have Rashad Jennings on my bench, but it says he's questionable with some kind of injury, I guess. Let's see. Hand injury, not sure. I don't know, until I see that he's ruled out or inactive or whatever, I'm not going to, lose faith, but definitely got some work to do on the waiver wire this week for both my teams at the running back position, which is, as you may know as a fantasy football player, if you play fantasy football, that running backs are, good running backs are hard to come across, especially off the waiver wire in week 3 when usually all the good ones are already taken up. So got some work to do. A lot of notes, a lot of news to look up, stuff like that, matchups to consider, all that. So yeah, that's how I did for week 2. Kind of looking forward to week 3 for as you've been tuning in for a lot of reasons. A lot of work to do, and yeah. Also wanted to mention Dodgers game. Just wanted to shout out the bum. Just want to shout out the bum for acting like a bum, and that's what you get when you act like a bum. You bum. If you don't know, Madison Bumgarner and the Giants started jaw jacking at Puig, typical baseball shit. Oh, don't look at me. Stupid shit like that, and bench is cleared, nothing happened. It was a hold me back moment, and yeah, Giants bullpen blew it in the bottom of the ninth. Dodgers came back. Red Turner had tied it up with the single, and then Gonzo, the professional hitter, game-winning double. And that's and then all they saw was Mad Bum, just bumming it up down to the dugout, down to the clubhouse. That's what you get, So the Dodgers won, Giants lost. Can't get any better than that. Still got 2 more games left. Ridgel on the mound tonight. That shut them down tonight, boys. Yeah, and then So I hope your picks went better than mine. Hopefully your fantasy teams did better than mine. And yeah, I got a lot of work to do this week. Got a lot of notes to take, a lot of matchups to check, waiver wires to keep an eye on, and yeah, hopefully your teams did better than mine. Hopefully your picks went better than mine, and catch you guys at the end of the week for my week 3 picks and my new updated fantasy lineups. Hopefully with some new productive running backs. If you like what you heard, go ahead and subscribe, like, comment, share, all that stuff, whatever I missed. And thanks for listening. Catch you guys later. Peace.